What is up, guys, and welcome to the Strength of Body and Mind podcast. My name is Gordon. I'm going to be your host, and this is episode number 33. And if you are new to the podcast, guys, thank you so much for coming and checking it out. I really do appreciate it. I do encourage you to go back at some point. Doesn't have to be right now, but at some point, going in, listening to episodes 0, 1, and 2. 0 is our launch episode. 1 and 2 are sort of my foundational pieces of the entire thing. It's the importance of movement and the importance of thinking, which is essentially my way of saying we need to move our bodies as humans and we need to use our brains as humans. And the act of using both of those things to their fullest potential is going to create our greatest potential as humans. And I really do believe that. That's where the name comes from, Strength of Body and Mind. I believe there is a body-mind connection, a mind-body connection that is way stronger, way deeper, and way more advanced. That tethering between those two is way more advanced than most people think. And it's a widely understudied and a completely misunderstood and widely misunderstood concept and topic. And I want to basically take this opportunity to try to spread some education and some awareness around that. So that is the intent of the podcast. And that's, again, sort of like the foundational pillar of the whole thing. But anyway, this episode, which I'm about to jump right into, is all about hydration. Okay, so this will launch on a Tuesday, and it's going to be more of a physical-based podcast. That's how we operate. We have a 2-time-per-week schedule. Tuesdays, we drop a physical-based podcast, which is a lot of workout-related stuff, body-related stuff. We talk about supplements, we talk about training, we talk about nutrition. In this case, we're going to talk about hydration and all things related to that. On Thursdays, we drop a second episode of every week, and that one is more mindset based. So it's a lot of positivity, mindset development, self-esteem, self-empowerment, stuff like that. Stuff that makes a lot of sense on the mental development side and the mental strength side to push you forward in your fitness journey, whatever that is. So anyway, today we're talking about hydration. Why are we talking about hydration? We already know hydration is important, right? Everybody has told you that from the time that you were a small child to where you're at now. You hear it all the time. If you watch the news, I'm sure sometime in the last 6 months, they said something like, recent study shows that drinking more water is going to lead to a longer life, something like that. And, that kind of thing has been coming across our radar our entire lives. We already know hydration is important. We already know that the body is, a vast percentage of the human body is water. We are almost entirely water. But what most people don't quite get, and it took me a long time to understand this, partially because I didn't care, to be quite honest with you, is what that really means. When someone tells you you're water, your body is made up of almost entirely water, what does that really mean? I mean, yeah, sure, it means that we have H2O in our system, but why, first of all, and what does it really do? It's not like if you cut open a human body, it's not like they just pour water out, right? They bleed and they have organs and stuff. There's no water in our body, just in its form, in the liquid form of water. It's just not there, right? But it is there, it's at a cellular level, okay? It's broken down, it's filtered, and it's moved around, and it's used for things in a way that most people don't give any thought to. And so when you're dehydrated, you are lacking that water, and in order to restore it, you need to drink water in its liquid form. But again, this is where it gets lost. When you drink water, it doesn't just go through your stomach and then go out into your body in liquid form that way. That's not really how it's used. So I want to talk about hydration. I also want to talk about what happens when you become dehydrated. I also want to talk about when you feel dehydrated. Is that really when you're dehydrated? Or is that really when your senses and your protective elements in your brain and in your body try to kick in and make sure that you don't become dehydrated? Or are you already past that and you are now trying to play catch up? Because those are all things that, again, most people don't think about, but you wouldn't believe just how much all of that affects you, because it does, especially if you're an avid fitness enthusiast. And if you're listening to this, I would imagine you probably are to some extent. Maybe you are not giving enough respect to water and hydration and what that really does for your body. So, I want to throw out a couple common scenarios, and I also want to make this practical, okay? Because a lot of people might be very academic with this whole thing, but let's be practical, okay? So you've heard all this stuff, I'm sure, about how you should drink a gallon of water a day and all that. I mean, that's true. We should do that, but that's not practical for a lot of people. Depending on what your situation is, if you drink a gallon of water a day, in order to do that, you need to spread it out across the whole day so that you're drinking water like every 20 minutes or something, depending on how much, of course. But if you're drinking water every 20 or 30 minutes, then you're going to have to go to the bathroom like every 20 or 30 minutes. Once you start going, it's not going to stop, because water, of course, after you consume it, your body's going to filter it and it's going to take what it needs. And then you're going to go to the bathroom and you're going to get rid of all of it, anything that's excess, right? That doesn't stop. That happens pretty quickly. So you're just not going to stop. So it's not practical to drink water every 30 minutes for every single person. If you're in an office and you can literally, you have the opportunity to run to the bathroom every 30 or 45 minutes, fine. But I just want to throw that out there. Okay, some of that stuff's not practical. Now, you can front load the day, you can back load the day, where you drink a ton of water in the beginning of the day, like in the morning, you drink a ton of water at the end, something like that, and then you kind of spread it out in the middle. That's probably a little bit more practical. But this is part of the conversation that not a lot of people end up having. And I just wanted to throw that out there. But it is important that we drink enough water, okay? But it's important that we drink enough water and that we do that in a practical way. Now, back to what I was saying about hydration and how important it is and what it can do for you. I really want to make this podcast broken down into, because I could talk about water and hydration, and really anybody who's spent any time like researching it and studying it and understands it could do this. I could talk about this for a wicked long time. I'm going to break it down into really 5 things, okay? 5 reasons. And there are not only 5 reasons. It's not limited to 5 reasons, but these are the 5 reasons that I kind of think about when I think about the importance of hydration, and basically like little things that I remind myself of from time to time, and I'll explain why I even have to remind myself of these things from time to time. So let's just jump right in, okay? Because obviously, some benefits are there that are obvious, and some benefits are there that are not obvious, but they actually can be quite substantial. So number 1, right? These are in no order. These are just 5 bulleted items that I want to talk about. So number 1, all right, we're basically always dehydrated. Okay, even if you don't feel thirsty. Actually, I would argue that in some cases, especially when you don't feel thirsty, you're actually dehydrated. You're not massively dehydrated. If you're listening to this and you're an adult, obviously you've made it to adulthood, probably without ever suffering from dehydration. All right, it's not going to kill you, but just be aware that you're probably always mildly dehydrated in most cases. Unless you are consistently day in and day out hitting that 3 to 4 liters of water, you are probably at most times somewhat dehydrated. And if you are drinking because you're thirsty, then you're definitely dehydrated. Now, you may only be 1, 2, or 3% dehydrated, but that is actually enough to have an effect on your performance, like in the gym or throughout the day, just your energy levels. But it's not going to kill you, right? And you know this, but it's something to be aware of. Our receptors don't actually kick in and tell us we're thirsty, or tell us they don't make us feel thirsty until we've already kind of crossed that limit. And it's not really something that's been accurately measured or able to be measured even, but it's somewhere between like 1 and 3%, right? Those are the numbers that every article and publication that I've been able to find on the subject matter has really identified as like somewhere between 1 and 3% dehydrated. Okay, you're still 97% hydrated. But what does that really mean? That means that, you're still, the majority of you is still hydrated, but you'd be surprised at just some of the effects that you can have on your body just by being that little amount of dehydrated. And as far as your body moving throughout the day and what it needs from hydration, think about this for a minute. If you are just operating, meaning you are sitting in your office at work and you're doing whatever you do at work and you're just kind of going through the day, you will not stay hydrated for very long. If you are drinking water regularly while at work, while doing that stuff, you will become hydrated, but you won't stay hydrated for very long. And that's why you need to continue to drink over and over and over again if you want to keep yourself at that 100% limit. And, we'll talk about whether or not I think it's really important that we stay at that 100% value, that 100% hydration, or as close to it as possible. I'll talk about that in a minute. But chances are most of us, maybe all of us to an extent, are dehydrated partially at any given time throughout the day. And the big takeaway from that is that if you are wondering whether or not you should drink something, chances are the answer is yes, because you can't really drink too much water. Yes, you can, but not really. I mean, for most practical situations, you can't. So if you have a bottle of water sitting around and you take a sip of water every few minutes and you don't feel thirsty, but you kind of are wondering maybe I should have some water or drink something, it's not going to, it'll never kill you if that's the situation you're in. And it'll actually keep you hydrated. It'll keep you topped off, right? It'll keep you sitting at as close to 100% as possible. And, that's, I guess it's not something everyone has to do, right? But it is something that will actually help, and it'll help in many ways, actually. That's the thing. That's really the punchline, right? We're always partially dehydrated, and it's never a bad idea to take an extra drink of water or an extra drink of whatever, for the sole purpose of staying hydrated. Okay. So number 2, and I did talk about this a little bit earlier, and it's really how the body uses water, how the body uses that after we drink it, and how it's not what most people think. And the big takeaway here is that the body, when you drink water, what you're doing when you're rehydrating the body, you are putting it at its highest level of efficiency. Okay, so that is why we stay hydrated. That is the reason why you should stay hydrated, is to keep your body running and operating as efficiently as possible. And that means everything that your body does. Because your body is so high, it contains so much water, and such a high percentage of your body is water, the reason for that is because it uses it to operate. Okay, your cells use it to operate. Your organs use it to operate. Your blood uses it to operate, basically. And the more hydrated you are, the more efficiently your system runs. When everything is hydrated, right, it runs better. So all of your organs run better. Your heart runs better. Your metabolism, your resting metabolic rate goes up. Your skin, right, all the dermis layers, well, they begin to look a little bit different. They begin to look a little fuller, a little richer, right? Everything in your body just runs more efficiently. And when everything runs more efficiently, then it doesn't have to work as hard. When efficiency is at its maximum, your body doesn't have to work as hard. And because it doesn't have to work as hard, everything is easier, right? You have higher energy because you're not expending it. Your body's not expending it, even though it might only be expending it at micro amounts to make your heart work better, or your blood to pump better, or your kidneys to work better if you're somewhat dehydrated. Even if all of those things only draw micro amounts of energy more than when they are fully hydrated, all of those add up, right? There's a stack up. There's definitely a stack up that happens. So if you stay hydrated and everything's running at full peak efficiency, then all of that stuff will be operating without drawing extra energy. So what that translates to is you having more actual energy, right? More spring in your step. You're thinking quicker, faster, sharper. Your reaction time is faster. And Those things are things that everybody wants. Okay, so hydration has a direct connection to how you operate and perform throughout the day and your energy, mentally as well, by the way, just because of the efficiency of your body when it is hydrated. Okay, so that's number two. I guess if I had to rate these, like, that is critically important. And not a lot of people know that. Not a lot of people really give that any thought, but it's really the big takeaway. The more water you drink, the more hydrated you stay, the more efficient your body is. And then the more efficient your body is, the better you perform, head to toe, mental, physical, everything. So keep that in mind. Number three, this is more practical, and I did kind of touch on this, but your metabolism. Okay, your RMR will be higher if you stay hydrated. The reason I said this is more practical is because it's less of a big picture thing and more of an actual, like, discrete type of side effect or byproduct. The more hydrated you are, the faster your metabolism is going to be. Now, what does that mean? If you drink an extra 3 glasses of water, are you going to burn 500 more calories a day? Probably not. But your RMR will go up, and it will be noticeable, right? It's small, but it's noticeable. And if you're passionate about fitness and you're interested in getting to that next level, this is something that is free 99% of the time. So it costs you nothing. It takes minimal effort, and there's a huge benefit as a result. And one of those things is going to be metabolism, right? So you can basically expect your body to burn more calories. And the reason it does that is because it's working more efficiently, just like I said in number 2. You stay hydrated, your metabolism will stay at its peak performance. So you may not actually be operating at your RMR right now because you're not hydrated enough. If you're operating your daily routine in a way that results in you being 3 or 4 or 5% dehydrated, like, at all times, then your RMR is going to be lower than what it's supposed to be. All right. So if you stay hydrated, you can bump that number up to where it's actually supposed to be. And it could be as much as, who knows, 150, 200 calories more. Like, it could be that. And that's a very noticeable difference. Now, that's probably an extreme case, but even if it's half of that, it's going to be something that's noticeable. And for something that costs nothing and takes almost no effort, I don't know why you wouldn't implement that, because there's nothing but positive effects and positive side byproducts as a result of drinking more water and staying more hydrated. Okay, I can't stress that enough. All right, your hydration is directly tied to your RMR. Keep that in mind. Number 4. Now, this is important too. Your gym performance will actually improve, right? All goes back to number 2, that efficiency. I don't know, maybe I should have made that number 1 just to drive the punchline home or something, but your gym performance will be higher. Okay, now I have personally noticed this, and because I've noticed this and I've clearly been able to identify it, I have made hydration a high priority in my life. Okay, I hit that gallon pretty much every day, and I do it in a way that I described earlier. Actually, I do a lot of front loading and a lot of back loading. I don't drink a ton of water throughout from like 10, 11 a.m. to like 4 p.m. I don't drink a ton of water in there, maybe like 32 to 64 ounces, which I guess sounds like a lot, but compared to the morning and the night, I drink probably, I actually might drink more to like 200 and something ounces of water a day. I just kind of thought about that now. It sounds like a lot, I guess. But I'm always drinking water when I'm at home and when I'm like doing stuff in the morning and doing stuff at night, especially at the gym. I'm one of those people that you see that has a huge, it's a 32 ounce bottle, and I fill that before I get there. And I usually have, not always, but I usually have branched chain aminos in there, so amino acids. And then at some point when those are gone, I refill that with just water, and I usually drink that whole thing too. So that's 64 ounces right there. Now I have one in the morning before I even get to the gym that's about half that. So it's about 16 ounces, 20 ounces. And then, that's all in the morning. And then maybe 1 or 2 of those again throughout the day from like 11 to like 4. So that's another potentially 32 to 64 ounces. And then at night, there's like 2 to 3 more after that. So I probably drink more water than most people, even I know. And And I got to say, I feel great. Now, the reason I do that is because I've been on the other side. I've been the type of guy that just gets up and goes straight for a cup of coffee, doesn't drink any water, and then goes and has, whatever throughout the day, maybe 1 or 2 cups of water, but, like a diet soda or a regular, back in the day, a regular soda at lunch, and then like another coffee or an iced coffee or something in the afternoon. And then, at night, like another soda or something. And then like maybe 1 or 2 cups of water throughout the day. Like I've been there, and I was trying to get peak performance out of the gym. And I was noticing that something was off a lot. And I never really understood it until I kind of just figured out that I don't drink enough water. And when I started drinking enough water, when I started drinking more water, especially at the gym, that was the other thing too. I'd go to the gym and I wouldn't even take a bottle of water. And, looking back, like that was kind of stupid. But when I started drinking more water and taking water with me to the gym and making sure that I was drinking enough before, during, and after, especially before and during, that my performance in the gym would stay way higher, right? My maxes were going up, so I was lifting more weight, and the amount of reps I could do was higher. Anyway, I can't stress that enough. There's totally a direct connection there. And if you're in some kind of athletic situation, like you play a sport or whatever, your speed will improve. If you're constantly like not drinking enough water now, and you start drinking more water, you'll notice your speed is higher, your energy is higher. And that's the same across the board. If you're running, sprinting, biking, your energy will be higher. If you play hockey or you're skating, your stride will be better. All of that is affected. Okay. That's the bottom line. And it all comes back to efficiency. So, if your muscles, every time you use them, and I'm sure most of you know this, they contract, and your Golgi tendon organs and your muscle spindles, all of that talks to your central nervous system, and that whole interaction, the kinetic chain interaction takes place. All of that's going to operate way more efficiently if you're hydrated. Okay, that's the bottom line. Now, lastly, guys, and this one is extremely important. This one might be the most important, at least in my opinion, just because it governs everything, and that is that your mood will improve. Okay, now it's totally a byproduct of being hydrated and having your body, having the whole machine operating at its highest efficiency. Your mood improves as a result, but it is probably the most important byproduct and the important reason to drink more water. I talk about mind-body connection a lot. Obviously, it's the name of the podcast, it's the name of the brand, but it's so true in this situation, okay? Because when your body is hydrated and your body is operating at peak efficiency, your mood is improved as a result. You feel better. When you feel better, guys, everything is better. I can't really say it any other way. I probably sound kind of weird just repeating that, but it's just the truth. It puts you on, in a way, it puts you on cloud 9. When it's like those days, those days that you've had before where you feel great. Everything feels great. Now, that might not be the case every single day just from drinking water, but I will tell you this, your days like that become way more frequent when you do things that are positive for yourself, especially staying hydrated. I know how it sounds. I get it. Trust me, though. It is absolutely the case. When you take care of yourself, and because you and all of us, we're so water-centric, keeping it that way, maintaining that, keeping hydrated, all of that. When you do that for yourself, that's a major form, by the way, of taking care of yourself. And when you take care of yourself, you are fully aware of that, right? Your mind is fully aware that you are taking care of your body. And when you take care of your body, your mind, because it's aware of that, it has a tendency to put itself into a good mood, right? It feels good to take care of yourself. It feels good mentally to take care of your body. All right, that's really it. So I'm going to repeat these one more time. I want you to try and lock these in if possible. Just kind of have them in the back of your mind at all times. And if you act on any of them, then I have a funny feeling that you will see all the benefits that we've talked about here, And when you start seeing and living and experiencing those benefits, then you'll finally get it. If you don't already, if you're not already in that situation, you'll finally get it. You'll finally understand the importance of hydration, like at its core. And then hopefully you can go and spread that message to other people and really convey to them the importance, not just with the words, but explain it in a way that makes sense, and explain it in a way like I tried to do here that makes people understand just what happens in your body, not with a scientist type of explanation, but like a practical explanation of, how the efficiency of your body is improved and how everything is improved around that just by improving the efficiency, just by staying hydrated. So again, let me go through these. Number one, we are basically always dehydrated. Okay, that is number one. Even if you don't feel thirsty, chances are you are mildly dehydrated. And that's something to just always keep in mind. And if you become hydrated, if you drink water, you're only going to stay hydrated for a very short period of time. And if you're moving, if you're working out, if you're training, if you're out in the sun, if you're doing anything, the amount of time that you stay hydrated becomes shorter and shorter. Okay, so just keep that in mind. Number two, what happens when we drink a lot of water, what happens when we become hydrated, is what we're actually doing is making the body efficient. We are putting the body in a position to operate at its maximum efficiency. And when it operates at its maximum efficiency, all other aspects of your body become better. They work better, they function better, they feel better, and all of that just is tied back to your body working less hard to do everything that it needs to do and perform normal functions. Okay, number three, your metabolism, your resting metabolic rate will improve as a result of staying hydrated. It may not be dramatic, but it will improve. And it is something that you will notice, especially if you have a fitness goal, you're trying to get to that next level. Drinking more water will improve your RMR to a level that you will recognize and you will be aware of. And if you are already in that situation and you don't think that's true, then I challenge you to stop drinking as much water as you are, give it 6 to 12 weeks and see what happens to your metabolic rate, right? See what happens with the macros that you're following now over the next 6 to 12 weeks if you stop drinking water at the level that you're at. But I know you believe me, so it's all good. All right, number four, your gym performance will be higher. Whatever training or gym scenario that you're in right now, or plan or regimen or whatever, your performance will be higher if you maintain hydration before and during that period of time that you're doing that. So that's critically important. And most people don't think they need water just because they don't feel thirsty. But you have to kind of overcome that and drink water even when you're not thirsty, especially if you're training, especially if you're playing a sport, especially if you're working out or doing some kind of HIIT cardio or whatever it is. You need to make sure that you stay hydrated even when you don't feel thirsty. Okay, thirst is not the thing that you should be using as a metric as to whether or not you're dehydrated. A lot of times you can actually be on the brink of dehydration, that 3, 4, 5% dehydration, where it actually will start to affect you quite a bit, and you won't feel thirsty still. All right, thirst is something that your body, it's a feeling that your body generates. It's like being hungry, right? We talk about eating with purpose a lot around here, right? Well, eating with purpose requires you to sometimes eat a meal to hit your macros, even though you don't necessarily feel hungry. Okay, those are purely based on survival. Your body's telling you you're thirsty, and if you don't drink something that you could end up in a serious health state. Well, we want to stay above that. We want to operate above that level. We want to operate at the prime, right? That's what we do here. Strength of body and mind. We're talking about operating at the peak. Okay, we want to be above the fold. So let's do that. Your gym performance will be higher. You need to stay hydrated. Drink water, even if you aren't necessarily thirsty. Okay. Number 5, your mood will improve, guys. I promise you this. Your mood will improve if your body is operating at its peak performance, maximum efficiency, because you're hydrated. Your body will tell your brain that. Your brain will recognize that. And when your brain recognizes that, your entire day, your entire life will be affected in a positive way because of that. I can't stress this enough. This is sort of the governing piece to the whole thing, is that your mindset will be in a way better place as a result of being hydrated indirectly. So that's it, guys. I'm going to wrap up this episode here. If you got any value out of this whatsoever, Please share this with somebody, a like-minded friend, a colleague, a training partner, anyone in your life that you think would get value out of it. And I think that the whole world, honestly, should hear this message, because most people don't understand or care really about the importance of hydration. But I think the more that they hear it, the more that they see it, and hopefully the more that they test it, they will understand it better and put it into practice and experience all the effects and the positive byproducts that come with staying hydrated. So again, I'm going to wrap it up here, guys. Thanks again. If you haven't subscribed or rated the podcast, if you want to do that, jump over to iTunes and do that. I would really appreciate it. And that's going to do it, guys. So I'll see you in the next one. Have an amazing day. And don't forget to always train with purpose. See ya.